All right. Welcome to Savage Rifts. I kind of forgot the name of the session. I believe it is the road to Refuge.
That is correct.
Uh, okay, so yes, the road to Refuge. And when we last left our intrepid heroes, they had defeated a group of armored hunters. After convincing a good portion of them to first defect and help. And in doing so, they cleared the area of any sort of apparent threat, allowing their new allies, the technicians of Porcupine Command, to place their sensors and begin the long and arduous journey back to Castle Refuge. Sir Barry's Fish had decided that they would travel with the party, or with this larger group, this armored support group, basically, and make sure that everything went well along the way. And we will kind of start when we last left everyone. You had actually just defeated the giant robots. Barry's Fish had cut open one of them and been blasted back by a flashbang. But when he looked inside, he saw some large kind of coffin-type containers. And so now that everyone is sort of like not battling, what would you like to do in terms of kind of the surveying and exploring the battlefield?
I would
Hello?
mostly be checking, make sure everybody's okay, if there's any injuries.
Everybody's what?
Checking, make sure nobody is injured and making sure people are getting help if they are.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Everyone seems to be no one seems to have serious injuries. You do get a report over the comms that before midnight was able to shut down that final Jaeger, it did get a few good shots off at one of the terrain hoppers. So the pilot's okay, but the flight system on the hopper is basically shot. But no one's injured, and they're the guys that defected to you are basically restraining and more or less putting under arrest the guys who are still piloting those three Jaegers.
Well,
None of them are injured, but they're all basically like angry and disheveled. One of them scared shitless
Yeah, true.
because of the skeletons. Other than that, you hear over the radio, Henderson is flying back to Porcupine Command to basically give them back their Shadowhawk so it can be broken down and hidden, because it's kind of distinctive to someone who knows Coalition tech.
Sure.
And then he's gonna basically get a hover car and come out with some techs to start scavenging these robots, because one of them's pretty much intact except for a broken foot, and the other one is mostly gone from the waist up.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Gren in the big gunbot is going to basically organize kind of the area, like just organize like securing the area and standing guard. So the Predator flyers are going to sort of like fly around and kind of make a search pattern to make sure no one else is there. And the terrain hoppers that are still functional are going to also kind of do the same. They note that the remaining technicians from this armored group are kind of waiting off in the distance and end up sort of like flagging down the pilots on an open channel and basically saying, hey, we're aware of what's going on, and the person that was, on the inside feeding you the intel told us that, like, you guys won't, like, kill us. You'll actually take us someplace safe. So we're in.
Very good.
And there are four of them, four technicians. And
I
go ahead.
will ask that the techs, if they need whatever they need to do in here to check out these robots and stuff, I'll kind of just oversee things around here, make sure if there's anybody needs anything, I can kind of radio between the spot here and people who are doing the search pattern, kind of being that midpoint person between here
sure.
and there, kind of relay stuff through that.
They would assign you like a hover car. Someone would like pop by with like an open topped hover car, just to give you like sort of like some command mobility.
Do that, if they could bring me my robot horse from Porcupine.
They could do that too. Yeah, they could totally do that too.
I left that.
So if you want to roll around on that.
Yep.
What the rest of you guys like to be doing while he is supervising the scene?
I guess putting all the dead to rest from this battle, and the guys the undead that I brought up.
You're gonna so you're dismissing those. You can dismiss them kind of whenever you want, so that's easy. Why don't you make your divination, your put them to rest divination roll?
While he's doing that, I'm not familiar with our full range of abilities of our new green friend. But if I suggest to him, yes, you, Spike, if you are able to kind of get a feel for these other four techs that were in there and anybody else around here, just to make sure that there's everybody's on the up and up. If you have some way to do that, because I'm not familiar with your power set. I've only known you for a short time.
I'll take the 11 because I'm not sure where that modifier came from. Probably from last.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from.
I'm kind of just lounging until he comes up to me, and I go, "You got it, Daddy-O." And I have. Let's see. Does empathy work?
Empathy is kind of what I was thinking.
Before you do that, Brandon, I'm gonna with the Mary Arkham's divination roll. Did you want to ask anything of the dead people, or did you just want to send them on their way? Because there's basically four of them. As well as, you would have also known, from your previous divination when you raised those soldiers, there's some other kind of randos in the area that would, have been caught up in this divination, not before. But did you want to do you want to ask them anything, or do you just want to send them on their way?
Me?
We actually killed people on the other side.
Yeah, well, there were the two robots. Everyone in the robot, the two who were in the one that had the entire top explode, they're totally dead. Oh, and when you're doing your divination, you can tell that what would you like to ask them?
If they know who their employer was.
Why don't you make a persuasion roll at -2?
It's not a minus. Oh, okay.
This is in addition to, because you don't take a penalty for the dead, but this is something different.
That's funny. All right. Double three.
Would you like to ask the question again, or would you like to just
realize they're not cooperative?
I'm going to use a Benny.
Okay.
This seems like it could be important.
Okay.
And roll? Really?
Nope. They
Oh, well.
They say that they sort of all four of them kind of gang up on you a little bit, and they're basically just we can't believe that we were defeated by fools such as you. We would never give you the satisfaction of of telling you our employer. Like, there's no way. No way. So send us up or send us down. It doesn't matter. Like, you'll get nothing else out of us.
You will go where you are meant to go. And I send them on their way.
3 of them go up, 1 of them goes down.
It's not my job to determine where you go.
No, thumbs up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just give a thumb. You just put your thumb out to the side and let the crowd decide.
You know your place.
I just make sure that you don't get, devoured, taken to used as magical regents or anything like that.
Well, you go down, you might eventually, but it's too bad.
So Brandon, Spike was going to do some empathy. Will give you like a bonus to like persuasion and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not good at persuasion because I'm ugly and I don't know if I have anything else, but I am very even for a cactus person, I'm ugly.
Yeah.
So my persuasion, and I only have a D4 in persuasion, but it is one of the ones I can cast on someone else. Would you like me to? Should I cast empathy on you, buried fish, and then you want to maybe question them?
Yeah, that could work.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can do that.
You can help me feel their feelings.
Yep.
Also, Midnight hasn't really mentioned anything that he was doing either.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I think I want to search the building for any hidden weapon stashes or any money that might be laying around.
Incriminating documents about...
Right. If they have anything that
you're going to search like the remains of like the inside of the robot that's still standing and stuff? Okay.
Yeah, and as I do that, I'm going to also drain their weapon.
Ooh. Okay, sure. Why don't you do a notice roll and then a persuasion roll, or notice and then your drain roll.
Oh.
At a -2 because it is big.
Yeah.
And then we will.
Is the notice at -2 as well?
No, this will just be straight notice roll.
Okay.
You kind of have you don't have the same cybernetic sense, but you kind of do have a sense of like energy, and we'll just kind of hand wave it a little bit. Yeah, you notice that like the main power is still active, but you can definitely tell from like some of the smoking and some of the kind of like bubbled and shattered consoles that whatever blasted Barry's fish back kind of fried most of the internals, but the main generator, the main power is still active, so you could basically try to drain it. But it looks like all of the linkages and stuff are basically fried. Yeah, and it looks like the kind of like coffin type things were sort of life support for embedded pilots.
Ah, that's what I wondered. Okay. Well, I'll try to drain this then. Come on.
That'll do it.
Okay, so fully drained. Yeah, and you do that kind of like, and kind of as after we'll kind of like flash forward a little bit for you. Like a little bit later, you hear from one of the techs that like, man, like it's a lucky thing that this this reactor discharged when it did. Like otherwise, it could have potentially overloaded. They look at and kind of like they're mentioning that like the explosion, whatever kind of countermeasures destroyed all of the internal linkages, also basically set it to be a dirty bomb that would just have basically melted down.
Oh, damn.
Good.
So thumbs up.
Well,
you get a gold star.
Woohoo.
All right, so back to the conversationalists.
Yep. I'm unclear if I need to cast empathy on both of them. I think it looks like it. Yeah. So
let me see.
So
I will look at the mega.
Normally it is one-on-one, but I'm making it a medium burst template so that I can get you and what are there, 4 of them? You said.
There are 4 of them, and then there's 3 Jaeger pilots too, but they're less kind. They're sort of tied up and being brought in if you want to.
Right. Yeah. We're expecting. We already fought against them, so we're expecting less. But
so you're just going to do the 4 technicians? Yes, 4 technicians.
4 technicians and Sir Barry's fish. Hey, I'll take it. Well, no, I get a free reroll, so I might as well try.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take a single success.
Empathetic transmission.
And of course, that D12 never given me shit. Always with the fucking wild die.
D12 plus 1.
Yeah, but the plus 1 goes on to the wild die, so.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does go on to the wild die, yeah.
So the D12 ain't doing shit for me ever, but
At least a plus
anyway,
1 is.
you get plus 2 on rolls against them with the empathic transmission.
Perfect. Well, I go up to them and kind of thank them for helping us take care of this and protect the god beasts from whatever horrible machinations this group had, and I kind of got just ask them how they felt about that situation, and are they feeling confident that they've made the right decision, and did they want to
why don't you make a
persuasion?
why don't you make a persuasion roll with your connection? So I think that's a plus 2 since you got a success, but you did the empathic, so you get a plus 2 to your persuasion. And you can sort of feel their feelings too. We're going to kind of trap this. You can kind of also feel what they're feeling as well.
Yeah, it says he knows the target's emotional state and most basic surface thoughts.
So I mean, you just automatically like can feel that they're relieved. They're still a little bit apprehensive, but not like scared. But they definitely feel relieved, and like their surface thoughts are like, how do we, like the surface thoughts are all sort of some permutation of how do we get them, how do we convince them we're not a threat? How do we convince them that like we will die out here if they don't help us? Like,
okay.
They seem their thoughts are very desperate. Like,
you do get a plus that Buried's fish, but obviously that doesn't make a difference on that roll.
And that one, no. So
if they were resisting, if they were trying to resist it, it might. But
Yep.
they're not. They're not. And they say, look, we didn't really. If we had known that the other technician was going to defect, we would have defected too, and we would have brought more of the gear with us. Like we just want to get out of here. We've been out in these wastelands away from civilization for so long, and we just want a hot shower and like a steady job that doesn't involve giant flying winged beasts and certain death. Like, if you need to keep us handcuffed, hey, that's fine. Just take us with you.
I don't think handcuffing will be necessary. In fact, to make sure that not only I but others here can get the feel that they can trust you. I'm sure there's plenty of things you could help out around here. You've got some skills that could be used. There was a little
one
bit
of them would mention real quick, like one of them would mention when you said that. One of them would mention real quick, yeah, you might want to check on like any of those missile bots that you brought down. They've got some pretty nasty countermeasures. And yeah, I mean, you already would potentially know this, but or like Midnight would potentially be figuring this out, but they they tell you that right away.
Well, fantastic. Well, I will get you in contact with someone from Porcupine Command and see what they're needing. I'm not an expert in this area, and you can take orders from them. Once we get things kind of cleaned up here, I'm sure our main mobile fortress that we'll be heading back to does have showers, so you have that to look forward to.
And they like all like there's one dude and 3 women, and they all nod very very like thankfully, and they say if you can send your flyers back, there's not much left at the campsite. We packed most of it up, but there's a few big things that we didn't really want to bring along. If you want to send them, they could maybe bring some of those cargo containers back. We'll get to work. And they just sort of like, they start, there's some techs around.
Fantastic.
And so yeah, and I mean the techs are all kind of like communicating on a second communications channel that Barry Fish would have access to, and they're just like, look, keep an eye on them, like, they seem like they're all right, and the Cyber Knight and the Spiky guy are willing to vouch for him, but they're not we can't necessarily let our guard down, not out here. And there's a collective like affirmative.
Sure. So,
but they all definitely seem to be working just fine after a few minutes. They start like tearing into those Triax robots, and they think they can take the foot arrangement from the one and put it on the other to at least get it walking. But it's going to take them a while to undo the damage that the Cyber Knight did cutting his way in.
Sure.
As well as refitting it to be piloted by someone who's not in a brain box.
Indeed. So we'll get somebody to fly out and get those other supplies. I'm going to put Midnight, have Midnight go with.
What's that?
I'm actually a little worried.
Just to make sure in case something does happen when going back to their.
Yeah, anyone can go with. There's enough. Yeah, like the flyers will, like the predators would probably be faster than anything you've got on the ground, but they can fly it at a low enough pace that you can keep up.
Yeah. So that's what I'll order Midnight to do that.
Cool. Yeah, Midnight totally.
Yep.
So yeah, why don't you make a notice roll? Midnight, and I will do a notice roll for the predators as well.
Ooh. Come on, baby.
At least it's 4.
4. Today has been a very 4-1 day.
Wow. That's my second one. Ooh.
Slightly better. I'm a little worried because they were hired to bring back parts of these things. And to me, that sounds like magic.
Sounds like what you said?
Magic.
Oh,
There's one parts
I
of the
could
god
probably
base.
make some because I could probably make some interesting things out of the parts from these things. So.
Yeah.
Or it could be extreme science. So really could just be anyone. Well, probably not the coalition.
No, they would just want to slaughter them.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's a safe bet. Probably not the coalition.
Hello?
You're back?
Hello.
Yes. Sorry, where did I cut off?
I don't know.
We don't know what happened.
Yeah,
we
after
just
the
know
notice
that
rolls, we
what
were
the
talking
roll
about
said.
the numbers, and we didn't hear anything you said about.
Gotcha. Okay, so yes, notice roll, and yes, the terrain hopper. It's actually a predator too. I just accidentally deleted the predator character sheet, but they're the same pilot. So,
Ah.
you guys are. It takes you about an hour of flight time to get to this campsite. But flying in, you don't notice any sort of like anything out of the ordinary. And the pilots in the power armors also say, you know, like, yeah, we don't have anything on our scanners either. Like, and you just see several piles of stuff kind of under tarps. I mean, it sounds about like what they told you to expect, that they just, you know, left some big stuff. And they figured that, you know, with the predators would be able to like pick them up and fly them back at a slower pace. But since, you know, they're kind of slower, they're slowing down to fly with you. That doesn't matter.
Right. Well, good. Let's take them back, I guess.
Okay. Yep.
Do I sense any electricity from them with this notice?
You sense a little bit like not really. No, not really.
No. Yeah.
And getting down, uncovering the tarps. I mean, you see that there are some like basic electronics, but most of it's like big like metallic struts and stuff for the power armors. It's like just really heavy, bulky stuff.
Got it.
But you're able to, with a little bit of ingenuity and time, you're able to rig it all up to fit on those two flyers, well enough that they'll be able to make it back. But it's going to take you maybe about twice as long to get back. So it'll take you another 2 hours, probably to get back. So that's about 3 hours. And it'll be getting to kind of the afternoon by the time you get back.
Okay.
So while Midnight is traveling for supplies, the rest of you are considering your options, potentially traveling back. Porcupine Command would have definitely like done a little bit of discussion about how to travel, and if they're going overland, they're going to have to try to maybe skirt down around the edge of the mountains to get back to Casper, and then just kind of go kind of as the crow flies through Nebraska. If you want to, you know, they think that's probably the safest route. They don't like the coalition territories.
Right.
For a second there, I thought you said they don't like Polish territories, and I was like, oh, what the Polish do?
I mean,
Maybe
they
they
are
don't want to take
Polacks.
them back.
Making their submarines.
You know what Brandon, you know what they did. That's why they're the butt of every joke. It's because they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
It's because they really can take a joke.
Yeah, so that obviously we don't want to get anywhere near coalition territory either. So be in agreement with their route that they we have a lot of big stuff to move around, so and they're probably more familiar with the immediate area here, the best way to get down from here until we get back to more flatter ground.
Here, I will take everyone back over
to the
to
map.
the map. Do that map. Map. Oh, I need to. Yep. So there is the map. I believe you guys at that point.
Yes, that's a long way to go.
I think you can see my arrow.
Yep.
Yep.
This is how they're recommending you at least kind of with their topographical maps. It'll take them probably a day to set up those sensors now that there's no one else to bother them.
Okay.
So it'll take them about a day to get that done. But then they think, you know, that's probably the best route to get to Casper if you're going to travel overland. So that'll probably take 2 days, day and a half to 2 days. If you're, you know, traveling 8 hours a day, they think they could push it to maybe 10 hours a day. Maybe get a few extra hours out of the daylight. But I mean, it is January, so there's still not a lot of daylight right now. And
I am recommending we don't push it unless there's a reason to.
Okay.
We got a lot of people working together for the first time. I mean, we've only been working alongside a Porcupine Command ourselves for a short period of time, and we got some other new people joining from their opposition formerly. So let's take her fairly easy. Don't damage any equipment. Don't overstress anybody more than we need to. I mean, obviously we'll change that plan if,
Yeah.
lots of threats coming at us, or the weather gets really bad and we need to move faster out of the mountains before the storm hits. That kind of thing,
So anyone else have suggestions as well? Like this is we're kind of like mini montaging like preparations and all of that.
I used up basically all my PowerPoints in that battle, so I'm kind of just chilling.
Okay, well it'll only take you about 3 hours to recover them all. So.
Yep.
Yeah, by the time Midnight gets back from his trip, you'll be fully recharged.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So when Midnight gets back, you guys had sort of mentioned talking to the locals, seeing if they would help. How would you go about contacting them, Midnight?
Did they not give a means of contacting?
We're going to assume that Midnight would have asked Midnight what a good way to contact. They have eyes and ears everywhere. This is their domain. The sky is their domain, so like they hear and see everything. But like, how do we know like what's your help me, or like, hey man,
or is it just look up and say, hey, that cloud looks different?
I'm willing to bet that it's something involving singing while he's flying. That seems pretty standard.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Some kind of bird call or singing while I'm flying. Sort of like Ocarina of Time-ish. Simple little repeated melody until it travels to them.
Okay.
Perfect.
And they can track us.
Let's see. Do you have perform?
Ooh, do I? No.
You can do it badly. You can still do it unskilled.
Right, I could do it unskilled.
Yeah, try it.
Okay. Let's go. Shake 'em, shake 'em, shake 'em. Ooh.
Close.
Ooh, so close.
It may still work. They'll be like, your singing's terrible.
Do I remember the song right? I'm not sure.
Yes.
It was something like this.
And it takes a while. It takes a while of you flying around, and they finally like you're sort of like drifting through a cloud, and like the cloud itself becomes a portal, and you sort of end up in front of several very stern-looking Linsrial in kind of a different part of the sky, and they say, "Yes, the words must be different where you're from."
Well, I knew it was in there somewhere. I just couldn't get it out quite right. But I'm glad you caught on.
Well, we observed your battle with the armored beasts, and we must say your bravery impressed us. Charging in foolishly to swipe at its feet, only a true Sky Knight would do would go through such the trouble to do such an act. We approve. Why have you called us?
Well, I thank you, and mostly it's because my king needs some help.
Your
traveled.
King.
I don't truly understand it all myself, but this group I joined must have some royalty. First I was under a king, and now it's a Sir Knight, and I think they must be royalty, so I just do what they say because they've been kind enough to take me into this strange land. But we've traveled far, far from our home, and we have some new friends we need to bring back with us, and we were hoping y'all could help us.
Your friends, you mean the 30 or 40 armed humans and all of their things?
Well, yes. Yes, I understand it looks a bit strange and even hostile, and I can't say that there were not shots fired, but that all seems to be in the past. And we've convinced them to join us. Now, we are a small group relative to that coalition or that federation of magic or whatever y'all call it. I'm just hoping you can find it to help us for tomorrow, Legion. We're trying to bring peace back to this area, and these big robots might be better on our side than theirs.
Well, we will speak to our elders, and we will return to you with an answer. Continue your work down there. We see you scurrying like ants. Remember to rise above and embrace the sky, my brother. And
Like
they more or less send you back through a portal and kind of, fly off to speak with their elders. And they will get back to you. They will get back to you. Is there anything you would like to do? You're kind of you've set people to work. They have started at least doing some salvage. Porcupine Command's still staying kind of up high on that
Mesa.
That kind of like rock escarpment, keeping track. But they're actually gonna set up the mobile gun to actually carry out and install one of those sensor arrays before the sun goes down, because it's close enough, and the technicians that deserted brought some data with them. That was just some better topographical maps, so they can actually place a sensor in a different spot because they just have a little bit better lay of the land.
Perfect. No, I'm going to let the experts do their job so that when they're ready, we're ready to roll out back to the castle. So unless something comes up, I'm going to let the experts do their thing, and they're free to come to me if they need assistance or advice or direction or anything. But I'm not a micromanager, so.
They would ask you what do you want to do with the 3 Jaeger pilots. They basically got 2 of those 3 Jaegers basically back up and running and sort of recharged and refurbished, so that your guys' is like own quote unquote loyal pilots can use them. But those 3 others are still kind of just being held, as captives.
Yeah. Well, I want the captives treated well, but they're not going to be set free anytime soon. I don't know. We don't really have we can't just dump them off here, and we don't have any other place for them to be at the moment. So.
Yeah, I mean, they can totally refit one of their little habitation modules to be kind of a prison, like a little place to lock them off. But yeah, there's not a lot for them to do. So okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll probably have to find some way to. I'm not in the business of dealing out justice right now, but harshly anyway. I know others would do differently. I wait after when Midnight gets back from talking to the Sky people. Because I have heard, because the Cyber Knights and the Linsriel definitely have a similar notion of doing good in the world. So maybe they have, since they're more familiar with this area out here. Maybe next time he talks to them, they'll have an idea of what we could do with our prisoners. It's somewhere safe to let them go, or if they need to see justice, if they want to take care of that, whatever, I could go to the main Cyber Knight base and see what they want to do, but I don't want to give away what that's at.
Yeah, I know. So you guys would continue working, and eventually, you would all hear sort of like a very like distinctive kind of like eagle type, caw, like, screech, howl, whatever you call it that an eagle does. And it would herald the arrival of some Linsreal kind of at the edge of where you guys are working. They would swoop into where midnight is. And it is 4 Linsreal, like very burly ones, who are basically bearing an aerial litter carrying a 4th or a 5th Linsreal. Much older. Sort of like they're each carrying like one of 4 cables that's like, all connected to like a mobile DS to carry very clearly a Linsreal that is too old to travel itself.
Gotcha.
Like air palanquin.
Yes, air palanquin. Nice. Yes, I'm air palanquin. So it is. Let's see. Met with.
Keep notes.
Lynn.
Remember what happened.
Okay, so when they arrive, the shaman waves his hands, and actually it's a her, it's old lady Linsreal, and she waves her hands and says a few words, and yes, she would first gather, those of you who want to interact, and then she would cast the speak languages spell mass, so that those of you, who wish to interact can do so. And she would say, she would sort of look out and survey all of the robots and all of the people working. And she would say to Midnight, "It appears that they are an industrious lot, the humans that you have thrown in with."
Well, I guess they're a hardy bunch, and they do work long hours. I'll tell you that right now.
Yes, indeed. We have been following their progress. They are quite good at hiding, like a bird in a bush or a squirrel in a tree. They have done quite well at hiding themselves from many of the predators, but we fly through the skies. We own the skies. We approve of them. The ones that you first encountered. The others, however, we are not so sure. They have caused much damage and destruction, and they have given little regard to the air or the land. We have not yet passed judgment.
Well, I understand that there has been some damage done, and our hope is to change some hearts and minds and find a better path that's a bit more harmonious with everybody around here.
You wanted our assistance in traveling home. What you ask is a tall order. Your home, from where we stand, is quite far, and the necessary effort to send such large objects all of that distance, it would be,
That's a long way.
quite a task.
As the bird flies.
Yeah, exactly. It's over 1,000 miles. Now, granted,
Well,
Mary would potentially know enough about occult to know that, if they can open up a portal to somewhere, if they can open up actually a dimensional portal, then they can open it to pretty much anywhere on the planet without as much effort as going somewhere else. But it's still really, really intensive and intense. And making the doorway big enough, just making the doorway big enough to fit the behemoth through is a fairly tall order, literally and figuratively.
Well, I appreciate you all even coming down to meet us, and I realize it is a lot to ask, especially for strangers, but I wouldn't have come to you if I didn't think you weren't the most powerful people around here. I'm hoping
flattery.
whatever help you can give, we'll gladly accept.
I would have been
Oh,
and I would kind of step in at this point and like, my good friend here, Midnight. It's become a very respected member of my team. I am Sir Barry's Fish of the Cyber Knights. Our two peoples have had positive interactions. We have similar noble goals of doing good in the world, and I can understand if there's only so much you can do to help us, but anything that you can do to help would be greatly appreciated, and we'd be indebted to you.
we know of your deeds, Barrett's Fish. We know of your deeds, High Noon. We know of your deeds. And then he says Spike's name or she says Spike's name in like that language. And young, what's that?
Blinkaterlieski is his name.
Yeah. And so she says that, and then she looks at Mary and says, and we know of your deeds. And the deeds of those who you have helped move on, young Mary Arkham. You have proven yourselves worthy. You and the quiet one that you traveled with. The plains, the warriors of the tribe of the Sioux, they have deemed you worthy. And so shall we. But the rest of your allies, they are not worthy. And only those who are worthy may carry their weapons through the clouds. If you wish for our assistance, then they must travel unarmed.
Oh my. Does that include giant robots?
I would assume you're probably mind blinking with her so you can communicate.
Yeah.
She would mention,
and I do whisper as an aside, but it's directly into her mind. And
yeah, and she would sort of like glance over and she would say, "We are not unreasonable. We understand that these are machines of war that are indivisible from the weapons they wield. However, we are also not fools. We know that these weapons can be powered down, they can be unloaded, they can be disabled. That is what we ask. That is what we demand if you wish for our services." And she would say to she would sort of look at Mary Arkham and say, "One such as yourself would understand the power and effort that goes into working such powerful magics. You can understand that we would not want those who we do not trust armed and ready at our throats when we are at our weakest."
That is extremely fair.
I have no problem powering down these fellas for you. It's a bit of a habit of mine at this point.
We'll have to convince the people that rely upon them to defend themselves, though. That'll be a conversation.
Well, the way she describes it, like at least the four of you and Henderson, basically the five of you who counted coup are essentially worthy. So you guys can potentially, they have no problem with you guys being armed. You know, so, but everyone else, yeah, they don't want them armed, and they understand, you know, someone's going to have to control the vehicles, ensure the vehicle's a giant weapon, but if the weapons are powered down, you know, like, they're not unreasonable, but, you know, they also don't want to be, like, right next door to, like, a half dozen missiles to the face when they're, you know, when they use all of their power to open a giant portal.
Certainly. Well, I need to ask a question to one of the high up techs that can answer this question. Like, how long will it take to, if they're able to help transport us even at least part of the way, how long would it take to reactivate the weapons once we're on the other side?
To like power down and then just
when we come back, like let's say they can take us halfway or 3/4 of the way, and
would you
come
like
out the
do you
other
want
end,
like who would
and
you
then we get ambushed.
Yeah.
We don't want to have our giant robots like unable to fire because it takes an hour or 2 hours to set everything back up.
Okay, yeah. Who would you ask specifically? Like, and that answer me.
Isn't their leader also basically the head engineer that just wanders?
Yeah, I can't
off
remember
to
the
fix
character's
stuff?
name actually.
Okay, so there's Boss James, who's like the logistics guy, and there's Chief Gina, who's like the head technician.
Chief Gina, then, yeah.
And there's you would probably Frankie's the radio operator, and Henderson's their pilot. Basically, those are probably the four. And Lieutenant Gren, I guess, is also like kind of in charge of the deserters, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean,
so yeah, who would you ask?
Even some of the lower level techs, if they're nearby, if
okay, yeah, if you just wanted to ask a low level tech,
yeah, I mean, it's fine, like because they should know they work on these things. I don't like if if we took all the weapons off or disarmed them or whatever, how long does it take to fire them back up again once we're on the other side?
So yeah, you just grab a couple off the side, and they will kind of like converse with one another, and they will say, well, a lot of the energy weapons. We can discharge the capacitor, and realistically, it shouldn't take, it may take a minute or two for some of the bigger energy weapons to power up. But that shouldn't be much of a problem unless we're, it's in our face. The bigger the weapon, the longer it'll take to kind of just get a charge. But, it depends on what they want to do with like projectile weapons. If they want us to take all of the missiles out rather than just unloading, the chambers and whatnot, and putting, some sort of like safety on. If they want us to reload everything, that could take hours.
Right.
But the energy weapon should be fine. So the mobile gun, everything except for like it's the medium railgun on its head should be up and running in a few minutes. And the behemoth has some random energy weapons on it too.
It's unlikely they'll drop us directly on top of a nest or something, and we can survive a fight, hopefully, if we do run into something, but without...
Are you going, like, do you want to discuss this with any of the other sort of, like, people in the group? Like, do you want to discuss it with, like,
I mean, just... Whoever was kind of,
or are you just gonna make the decision?
Yeah, and I don't even care if the Linsuriel Elder overhears any of our discussion if they're nearby.
Okay.
I'm not trying to hide anything from them, so just to get an idea of where to go. And then after I kind of get that idea, I would like to ask, like, I want to know what kind of help they can actually provide, and if there is transport, like how far can they take us?
She says that really depends. If we are able to open the portal, we can guarantee that we can get you at least halfway to your home. But if our ritual is precise enough, we could get you within maybe 100 miles of your home. We must find the proper places. We don't want you to appear in a peat bog or the middle of a river, would we? She chuckles a bit.
Okay, this is officially worth it.
but she says it will take much preparation either way. And we will have to find some way to get your vehicles to a more elevated position.
Right. The hard part here is if we get dumped somewhere, it would be really hard to figure out exactly where we're at and which direction to go, because there's no GPS or anything. And our mapping of this area is not very good. So, until we find a noticeable landmark, we could end up...
They think, I mean, they're basically going to send you in a direct line. The way she describes it is it will basically be... The portal will more or less represent a direct line between point A and point B.
Yeah.
So, like, you will at least know kind of the path that you are taking. It'll just sort of depend upon the winds of fate how far that path goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
It does. Barry's fish.
Because it's sort of cloud magic, so it's like it's going to follow a wind current. It's just going to follow it absurdly quickly.
It's an as the crows fly situation, as the crow teleports.
It is.
It's close.
Indeed. As the crow fries, because it's traveling so fast that friction causes it to spontaneously combust.
Well, I'm going to take it up with my immediate trusted team, the player characters, to say if they want to do this or not. Because Barry's Fish doesn't like the uncertainty of it. It's a great offer, but
halfway there will
yeah.
be a burst of magic.
But we also part of kind of one of the side things of the Tomorrow Legion is, seeing what's out here, recon, cartography, so some of those things we
exploration,
all that stuff, and we might miss some vital thing by skipping part of the trip back as well. So.
That is true, but also could the people who these guys are working for maybe catch up with us?
Yeah, I know.
We're moving real slow.
That's why I'm open to options here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of the guys that they were working for,
Going the other way out here was okay because there was a unknown portal like rift that we were coming out of. Basically,
say what now?
When we came out here through dimensional, rift, basically.
Yeah, it's actually near Casper, but it's like a tiny portal. It's like a portal in an underground
cave. Yeah, we knew exactly
where
we were coming out. Basically,
yes,
it's uncertain and like even the Sky Knights here, they can't guarantee where we're going to come out, and
it's a really long way there.
I mean, mechanically speaking, if they get a success, they're going to get you halfway there, and if they get a raise, you're going to end up within like a D4 times
but
10
it wouldn't
miles.
It's going to be with 200-300 mile error, margin of error in there. It's not going to be exactly mechanical, so.
Because it is following the wind. Like I'm definitely like keeping with that. Like that. Like so there is like.
And say if we had detailed like landmarks to look for in Nebraska, we could wherever we ended up, we could just pick a direction north or south, and then eventually see something we know and get back on track. But we don't really have that.
Yeah, we wouldn't exactly know where we are.
So we could end up accidentally in going right into coalition territory because we misjudge where we're at and put everybody at risk. I mean, there's still a chance that we could make that wrong turn going the whole way on foot.
And the shaman does tell you that like if you don't need the transportation, they could still help you in other ways, but if you want that, like they're you know what they expect of you, and it's up to you whether or not you take that option and getting it to work.
Here's what my thought is if we're going to use it at all, if maybe they can just get us out of the high mountain area where we have to kind of take a long way around down. If they can just get it down there, because then we'll still kind of see some mountains. We might be able to figure out where we're at based on those landmarks back towards Casper area, and then we take the rest of the way back on foot there. Because that's the most crazy part of moving all Porcupine Command down, is getting down the mountain.
Yeah, it is going to take a little bit getting the behemoth and the ogre. Like they're definitely like all terrain, but they're also really big. So you kind of have to like. I mean, ground compression is a thing, which I didn't realize that, but like robots don't actually sink because like dirt actually only takes about a foot of compression before it's like as solid as concrete.
Yeah. So that's kind of my mountains that are made idea for a
granite and shale.
Is if we can just get out of past the worst of the mountains, that would save us a lot of time right there, and then we could take the rest on foot and do our exploration and make sure that we stay far away from coalition territory as possible.
Okay.
What does the rest of my team think of that? Mary, Midnight, Spike?
I don't know.
Then we can probably make sure that we at least find the Platte River, and and then we'll know where we're at. It's mostly running in the same place it was on pre-Rifts Earth, but that'll at least give us an idea where we're at.
We can go stop by my old Camp Calvin Crest.
Do we lose Jordo again?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yep.
Nope. I'm just listening. I'm just listening.
Sounds good.
Seeing what you guys like trying to. You guys are discussing this. Are you Are you mentioning these things to like the shaman? Kind of asking about. Kind of like. Or are you discussing it with your team before you're going back to talk to her?
I mean, I'm discussing with the team, but we didn't walk away or anything, so she can overhear whatever she wants to hear out of it. But I'm not specifically asking her anything. But I want to hear the rest of
She would mention that the less distance, the easier it is and the more accurate.
Yeah.
You know, the shorter distance, like, you know, they routinely send people just east of Casper and just north of Casper because of the Black Hill Nexus. So that's something they do fairly routinely. It's just a matter of making a big enough portal. Yeah, and they're still not going to let anyone else travel on.
I mean, they can just get it past the worst of the mountains over here, and then we go the rest of the way on foot. That's what I'm thinking.
That will nix a day or two, yeah, or probably 2 days.
It'll be more accurate. We should be able to find our bearings before we get too close to Coalition territory, and make sure we give them a wide berth. We can still run. We obviously can still run into them anywhere. They've got their own expeditionary forces out here, so.
Yeah, that's true. But at least it's not like it's territories and not like states.
G-Town.
The frontier, yeah.
Yeah. And there, you know, we could always run into the first apocalyptic cavalry, and because we'll be going through their area too.
So you guys, she says she will help you to travel however far you need. You just need to convince your people that.
Yeah. I think...
And she says you know, like we're not fools. We know that you can, like, you know, you can load up those, you know, big robots. You can carry the one, you know, they don't need to be armed to move, and the ones that are, you know, like you can. They're not fools.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's convince the rest of the group, then we'll have them get us out of the mountains, and so.
Okay, so this is going to be. Let me make sure. 3 rounds.
It's a relatively known area, not in the mountains anymore.
Okay, so this is going to be a social conflict because both Porcupine Command and Lieutenant Gren are less than they are less than excited to be, you know,
disarmed,
going through a portal, like, you know, unarmed. So they're going to need some convincing.
I know. That's why I was almost against doing it in the first place, but I think we came to a reasonable...
That doesn't mean they won't. You would know, like, the Porcupine Command is far more likely to agree, just because they're scientists and explorers. So the chance to go through a portal is pretty badass.
Yeah.
Also, the chance to not have to go through mountains is also.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. But it's up to you. It's going to be up to you to convince them. So I'm going to get both of them up. Whereas,
let's do it.
Porcupine Command. I don't have Porcupine Command, so we'll just use Lieutenant Gren. Lieutenant Gren is going to just speak for them. We'll just use him.
Okay, sounds good.
He has endeared himself greatly.
So this will be a social conflict. Most social conflicts, the basics are: characters make arguments back and forth over 3 rounds, roll their appropriate skills, then consult the conflict results table. See how they've influence their audience.
Yep.
During each round, the player's role plays her character's argument and makes a persuasion roll opposed by the spirit of whoever she's trying to convince. If a rival argues against her, the roll is opposed by his persuasion instead. Each success and raise grants her an influence token. Rivals don't gain tokens; they just oppose the petitioner and keep her from gaining them.
Yep.
And then persuasion rolls should be modified by the situation as GM sees fit. A hero trying to convince a scientist of a fact within his field rolls the lowest of his persuasion or science. Particularly brilliant argument or impassioned, role playing might add a +1 or a +4. An insult or faux pas might inflict a similar penalty. So, and then consider your hindrances as well. So, Cyber Knight is probably going to be more. Cyber Knight and Lince Real are both probably likely to be more readily accepted by arguments.
Well, I don't know about me. I have a DB.
Sure.
A DB hindrance because I'm ugly and an outsider.
Right. So.
But I'm overconfident, so it might not slow me down.
And I'll probably get the +1 for Revered Protectors. Anyway.
Yep. So let's see. I'm just gonna put out tag. Like we will have we'll just go by turns. So I'll just turn T1.
Okay.
So what would your first line of discussion?
Well, I would like the first line of discussion to. Well, actually, I'll leave that second. It's
Also, I don't like. I will say this. This is a situation where a meditation or a ritual to boost his trait for persuasion might be handy.
Sure.
Or a ritual, something like that.
I mean, if we have half an hour, I can sure try.
You have the Lince Real are not necessarily in any hurry, and there's still people working.
Okay. Then yeah, I can totally try that. How does it work again?
So you will decide how you want to cast the spell. So what do you want to do with the spell? You want to make it last longer, right?
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you will have to do a dramatic task.
Ugh. I was hoping my bad luck doesn't fuck me over.
It will only be since you're only trying to increase the time. It will only be a challenging dramatic task. So 3 rounds to get 4 successes.
Okay.
Each round requires 10 minutes to perform, and so increased duration. You have mega powers, boost trait. Is there any? It's rounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
10 rounds. So you can boost it for 10 minutes by just doing that dramatic task.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can boost it to 10 hours by doing that dramatic task at a -1.
I don't know that we need 10 hours of persuasion.
Do you think he will need more than 10
I
minutes?
don't think so.
You don't think
so? You think you'll be able to do it in 10 minutes? Okay. That's cool.
I think so.
And
And if not, he can just cast a regular boost on me after if he thinks it's running out.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because I mean, you can still do it for a minute, even without.
Just extend it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Not the ritual, I don't think.
The meditation, I would say you can extend, but not the ritual. I would say the meditation, since you have to concentrate and can't recover, it would make sense that you could extend it at the rate. But a ritual, since you're sort of already putting it in, that's me. If anyone has a different idea, I'm totally open for interpretation.
Well, if it comes up, we'll figure it out.
Can I add modifiers to it to the meditation, or is it just the base power?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you have to decide those before you sort of start the meditation.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yes, you totally can.
I'm seeing if there's any other thing. Yeah. Well, I'll do the mega powers.
The greater.
Yeah, I'll do a greater boost. This is for persuasion, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then yep, it'll cost me. Does it cost me more power points? I forgot.
Nope, doesn't cost you any more. You just can't recover them until you
taking
stop the meditation.
real deep shit. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
It's just harder
Digging
to
in
get
deep.
cast it successfully, though.
I know.
All right. So if we're gonna, are we gonna? So you're going to you are going to cast the Exalted on him. You're going to have it last for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Once you're done. Okay. So why don't you draw a card for your first dramatic task round?
Stay away from clubs. I know you have no control over it, but think not clubs.
No club.
Okay. So just standard roll.
And this is just a psychic roll? Or
Psychic roll. Yep.
I'm clenching real hard. 17.
I think you've already got your 4 successes in there.
Okay. So here's how it works. You have 4 successes. You still have to complete the task because the last roll determines whether or not you get a success or a raise. And if you get critical failures, you don't get backlash. It just reduces the number of tokens you get.
Interesting. Okay.
But for now, you've got so T. So let's T1 4 tokens. Okay, so second round. Why don't you draw another card?
Don't get distracted.
Oh, it's a club.
So yep, that's a -2. We're gonna say that the wind blows up really hard because like you can tell that they're kind of getting the storm and the winds just right for your for the upcoming ritual.
Farted. That's my quirk. Okay.
All right, so yep, T2.
So this is at a -2 now.
6.
So okay, so that's T2 5 T. All right, so final round, draw one more card and let's see.
It's a Joker.
Hey,
That could have been.
+2.
Okay, so I believe that means we draw 2 cards and take both effects.
Oh dear.
Is that how that works?
So I draw 2 more.
Let me check. I want to make sure.
Okay.
Dramatic task.
Yeah, that one I'm not familiar with. We haven't done these enough to have that in memory.
I'm a joker. I'm a smoker. I'm a midnight toker.
You're a psychic cactus.
Oh no, I think that's travel.
That's travel, yeah.
What joke?
So no, I think you'll get a +2 to this. So
Oh yeah.
I just
at
rolled
least
a +2.
unless I can find some other rules. I think it's the travel that you do the Joker's bad. So yeah, things just align. So you'll get a +2.
You feel so much
Clenching
better after that
hard.
fart. So.
Clenching super hard. 9.
Okay, and so you get 2 more. You succeed the dramatic task, and since you got a 9 on the final roll, that activates as a raise. So
Fuck yeah.
you have the raise effect. So you get the free roll once per action. So we will just say once per encounter move. You will.
So it boosted your.
And it will boost it too.
Boost your die type 2, and you get a free reroll.
Oh boy.
Well, a D12 with a free reroll, I think will be fairly good at convincing them. So.
All right, so now we will T1 again.
Super hard.
Does anyone else want to help assist somehow, kind of while that's going on? Is there anybody else that wants to do anything?
I don't know how I can really help yet.
I'm gonna make you help because just to make it more interesting, you're gonna do one of the second roll of this social conflict.
True.
I'm gonna make it hard on us. But...
No, that's okay. That's okay. Like, let me make sure it's. Yeah, because there's no actual like the results are just basically like based on how many tokens you get, rather than having it be challenging. So to start with, I mean, Lieutenant Gren is going to just straight up tell you here, so T1, he's going to say, look, we've been out here for, months. And I can tell you that if we don't have any weapons, we're dead. And, it may not take us that long to recharge the energy weapons, but, lasers aren't going to stop vampires.
Well, I can tell you we are a small force, that will be armed, but we are mighty, and vampires have not slowed us down yet. I understand your apprehension, but this is the fastest way to get back. Unless you want to travel these things through the mountain, we just have to follow these small instructions. We're not going to stab you in the back, and we won't betray you. We're here to protect and help, just as we always have been. I hope you can trust us just a little bit further.
Yes. Well, I was going to have you do the second roll, but since you're already in it,
Sorry.
Yeah, why don't you?
So you're going to do the first one,
that?
but I also want you to just mention, because since you are one of of their race, so like you say a good word about like how good they are at their.
Yeah, you're not like. Do you have any sort of like outsider penalties?
I have alien physiology.
But you okay? So you will get a plus. You'll get a.
DB.
Your DB is not going to matter. They actually don't care about that, and you'll get a +1 since you're actually one of the Lens Real. So he's going to listen to you a little bit more just because he knows you're not actually one of the people doing the ritual, but you're one of them. Like you get it. So you get a +1 to that.
Persuasion +1. You don't get the nice boost, but. I think it's more interesting than you have.
Yeah, your argument was very impassioned, but he's not all about passion. He's about logic.
Yeah.
Right.
Dang. Damn.
No, didn't convince him though.
So
Dang,
for that he's not a wild. He's not a wild, so it's just a group. But he just says
Just 13.
There's too many uncertainties for me.
Yeah.
There's just too many uncertainties out here. I've had to keep these guys alive, and fortunately we're in a situation where we can get out of here safely. And that puts us, who knows where we're going to drop.
Right.
So T2.
Well, then I was I had the same exact concern as you. If we get dropped somewhere and we're not fully prepared, that could be bad. But you have seen how my team works together and how powerful we can be together. You've seen it firsthand several times now. And I give you my word as a Cyber Knight that with our combined strength, even if we don't get your vehicles fully up and running, if we would somehow get ambushed immediately upon coming out the other side of this cloud portal, whatever they're making, I guarantee you with my life that you will survive through it. Even if it's holding them off until you get those laser weapons charged back up. Your techs had told us like some of that cycles only take a couple minutes to come out. I can guarantee you that we can keep you alive that long to get those turned back on, if something would happen that fast. One of my other pals here can free up the minds and bodies of your technicians, can speed up their ability to get the missiles reloaded. We have the tools, and the chances of us immediately getting dropped into trouble and not being prepared is very low. But if it comes to it, I will die before you will. I give you my word on that.
All right. See if you are convincing to him.
Oh,
are you going to attempt to re-roll?
No,
because you do get a free. Okay, so
no,
and
I don't want to crit. I don't want to crit fail it.
You will actually get a 22 because I was going to give you 2 points for a very logical and very clear
Nat 20.
you kind of you couched your passion against like I will die, so he's going to try to resist that.
Jeez, he tried hard.
Jeez.
So that is 1 success.
Ugh.
Mike, it's a raise, isn't it? Because 20 over 15. That's
it's a raise.
Let me see.
22 over 15.
22 over 15, yeah.
is
Not 2 raises. That's not...
No, you're right.
No, it's still only a success and not a raise.
Really?
Well, yeah, because I mean,
Isn't it meet or beat? I mean,
or wait, no, you're right. It is raise. It is the raise too. Sorry. Yep.
Are you
sorry.
counting the 4?
Yeah, 16 would have been an.
Yep. 50. Yeah.
Would have been 1, and then 20 is a raise, and then 20. I had 22.
Yep. So you got 2 tokens.
1 off from being 2 raises. Darn.
yeah.
I want to see what his response back is on.
He's going to say that, like, look, I've seen you guys work. I don't have any doubt that you're skilled operators. But the reality is not a single one of not a single one of you can operate one of these robots. And you know, what can you do against a giant beast? You know, no offense, but you guys are, you know.
I'm going to tell him the story of the giant rune worm. He's talking about giant beasts, how that thing just went to sleep and was done for, and then we just cut its guts open. Like in 6 seconds, it was done. I will glorify that story up, and I will bring in who actually killed him.
That was Fletcher. Fletcher killed it on an attack of opportunity.
Yeah. Well,
but it definitely was completely and utterly helped.
Yeah, and how big this thing was. You know.
I mean, it was like 30 or 40 feet long. I mean, it was huge. The ruin worm was huge.
So I'm addressing his concerns. The giant beasts, we've got this. We have the tools.
I would say also, maybe with mind link to you, don't forget I high-fived a T-Rex.
Yes, and that one high-fived a T-Rex in mid-battle before. So
why don't you roll why doesn't Cerverius Fish? Why don't you make a smarts roll?
That would not be that +1. So that's a 5.
No, that's okay. You would realize you would kind of catch on to the fact he doesn't realize that Henderson is considered worthy with you guys. Because he keeps saying that like no one can pilot these robots, and no one can do anything. So that's one thing that he would have. You would kind of catch on to that.
Yes.
That's
our buddy Henderson here that he can fly these things too. He's done some. He's done some pretty impressive things in the short time we've known him.
Well, they're letting him. I didn't realize. Like, did you guys do something? Like, was there some? Am I missing something here?
Oh, do you know about the counting coup ritual that the natives at Casper do?
No, explain it to me.
When their young men and women come of age, they go out and prove that they're worthy. It's kind of like a very dangerous game of tag with a large predator of some kind. In this case, I believe they're called T-Rexes. I'm not familiar with some of the larger creatures.
Those are the big toothy ones. We ran across one.
Little short arms, yeah. Yeah, and the goal is to get in and put yourself at risk to do some damage on it and basically play around with it to show your worth. And we all participated in such a ritual on our way out here as we came through Casper. And Henderson was also determined to be worthy by the Sioux. So.
All right. Well, what do you suggest then? I mean, so now why don't you roll your persuasion and see how you're kind of.
I'm also going to mention in there that we're going to, once we come out where I think we're going to kind of be going through their territory again, so we've already kind of proven ourselves with them.
Okay. So you're telling him you're going to sort of like that area that's kind of west of the Panhandle a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll have some,
All
we have
right.
some friendlies.
We'll give
around
you a
there.
+1 on top of your champion, or your.
Yep.
So +2 total.
There we go.
He still doesn't really like it.
11's pretty.
Would
good.
you like to re-roll?
I've got a free one. I'm gonna try it.
Hey,
Hey, it went up to
Hey,
12,
12.
so there we go.
As long as he doesn't keep exploding.
Right.
Right.
Time for him to get a 1 and a 4.
yeah,
That'd be
right.
nice.
That'll do.
There we go.
Okay.
3.
So you got
Three.
2 more. So you got a
4.
success and 2 raises. So
Yep.
T3, 5 T.
All right.
So at the end of the social encounter, you got 5 tokens. So the Arbiter is reasonably convinced or willing to help. He grants the aid requested, more or less, but only under certain conditions or in exchange for payment, tasks, favors, etc. The prosecution is successful with typical sentencing in a trial. So there's no trial involved.
Yeah.
But Lieutenant Gren says he's okay with that. He just wants Henderson at the wheel of the mobile gun. Because it's big. And Henderson's a terrible piece.
And
He kind of like derides him a little bit. Like, he's not a very good pilot. He's not very good with robots. He's way better with the others, but better than nothing.
And if I recall the way the elder was saying, that one would not have to be unarmed then if Henderson is among that trustworthy group here.
Isn't that the one that takes the longest to get back in line anyway?
Probably.
Maybe. I mean, it's got mostly energy weapons.
Ah.
Yeah, that'll be guaranteed to be ready to go.
Yeah. And Gren says, "Okay, I'll do that. Just tell him not even to worry about putting the railgun rounds in that. We won't even load it unless we have to later." Okay. We'll get some of the techs to pilot the other robots, and we'll pack everything we can. But okay, I'm trusting you on this, Cyber Knight.
I hope that I do not do anything to ruin that trust.
All right. So you guys,
That was
go ahead.
social interaction there. But came out ahead.
Yep.
Yes.
I will stop.
Yes.
I will stop clenching.
So the shaman, she says that she will make the preparations. She will send some cloud makers down to help move the robots to a more elevated position. Basically wants the pilots to essentially disarm and whatever when they get close to like the base of one of these big upthrust rock formations that's like hundreds of feet tall, and then the cloud makers will basically use their power to levitate them to the upper cliffs, to where all of the magic is, to where the magic happens. This is where the magic happens. You guys are basically left largely to your own devices. You guys don't have to really disarm or anything. You do hear some sort of grumbling from some of the deserter pilots, but it's more just about the fact that look, man, the terrain hopper doesn't have any weapons on it. Why can't I, pilot that? We could unload the head guns on the Jaeger and it would have no weapons. Come on. Like, they're more just being petty.
Yeah.
But they're not none of them seem angry. The technicians are all really worried about these cloud makers, lifting these giant robots with nothing but magic. Although the explorers and the scientists are absurdly interested because they're like, holy shit, like this is 0 point energy. Like, how are they doing it? So what would you guys like to do? They're going to set up a ritual. This is going to be a very expensive ritual. It's going to cost 100 PPE just to start with. Every doubling of that, that you can provide will give it a bonus to succeed. So if you can convince some of your, allies to donate some, to kind of join in on the ritual and donate some of their ambient and/or, reserve power points, that could be helpful.
I mean, my ISP is it?
No, but you could use your ISP to ritual boost some people's traits or something. You could, you could definitely help. I mean, you would, as you're kind of going around, you would see that some of the mystics and like psychics of the Linsreal Sky Knights, they're like, they're boosting, the lady shaman is kind of like coordinating the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And she's, just your passive supernatural sense. You can sense that she's been like, boosted through the roof by, a dozen other people so that she can coordinate it all,
Sure.
I've been leading. I'm guessing this ritual is going to take an hour or two at least.
It's actually going to take the better part of a day.
Okay, yeah, I need some rest because I've been a lot of been on my shoulders through all this, getting this set up, and so I need to take a rest, at least a couple hours just to myself. I will leave Midnight in charge during that time.
Yep. And it is, I would say it's basically evening by the time they start lifting. By the time you guys get up there, it's probably 9 o'clock at night.
So we certainly would have recharged our stuff.
Unless you were working.
Yep.
If you were, that's why I'm taking a break. I've done mine. I have not had a chance to recharge. Whereas, Spike for a while had a time to recharge while Midnight was doing his 3-hour trip, and no time to rest for me. Even though I was just mostly talking to people the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So if we give ISP, is it just a one-off? It is used and then it recharges afterwards, or does it not recharge until the end of the ritual? Or not ISP. ISP.
Your PPE.
PPE. Let me look. I need to make sure to find additional people.
I kind of would imagine that's the same way that.
No, I mean it's really just one. It's going to be a one-time cost. Yeah, so you can't like give some now and give a little bit more later. Although you could potentially do sort of like, you could maybe do some rituals to help people and then rest until kind of like the final, kind of the final ritual itself, and throw them in on that.
Maybe. I know in the Palladium system, like pretty much if you were going to be involved with the ritual giving PPE, you had to be there for pretty much the whole thing.
Well, there's two different ways. Like, there's supporting participants and giving PPE now. So, like, if he was actually helping, then he would be rolling as a cult roll.
Yeah.
But since you're just giving PPE, I think because it's the same as like a blood ritual or like a
okay, then
ambient.
Spike, boost up my wisdom to. Can you boost wisdom for like 2
spirit.
hours? Mm-hmm. My spirit, yeah. Wrong game.
Damn.
Can you boost my spirit for 2 hours? Because that would be enough for me to regenerate the stuff into my phylactery, and then I'd be able to give like 50.
You got it, Hepcat.
All right, so draw a card. Or actually, what do you want to do with his with the boost trait? Do you just want to do the basic boost trait just to give him higher spirit?
You probably don't need to do the greater.
Yeah, probably not. So, yep. And once again, that doesn't cost me any extra ISP, right? It's just...
No, but since you're going for hours instead of minutes, it is going to be at a -1.
Be at a -1, yeah. Okay. Okay.
So, turn 1.
Okay.
You'll draw a card.
Turn 1. Draw a card. It's not...
Nope, not bad. So, straightforward.
So, -1 modifier, just counteract, +1 psionics roll. Woojow! 8.
Okay. Draw another card. Okay.
Not a club.
No club.
I will take it.
Save that. You
G2.
need that on the third roll.
5 T. Okay. And final card. Okay. No penalties.
Oh,
So
Kablamo! Look at that.
So that will be a basic success. So that will increase it by 1 die type.
Oh, right. The final one is what matters.
The final one, yeah.
And do I get?
Yeah.
Can I use my free reroll to try?
You can use your free reroll if you would like.
Huh.
yeah.
Oh, well.
Yep.
God dang it. Oh well.
That's okay. You still get your increase for a little bit.
You know, that 21 sure would have been nicer at the end. Instead
Yeah.
of in the middle.
It would have, but that's the rand. That's yeah.
You're tired out by the end. You've been too many meditations and starting to get a migraine.
All right. So midnight. What would you like to do while this is kind of
a cactus with a migraine?
Whew. Part of me, being overconfident, thought that maybe I would try and join the Lintrial, sort of like mumble along with them and wave my hands, but if that's all sort of done, I don't really know.
I mean, they would kind of all be, yeah. I mean, there would be sort of like some ceremonial, like dancing and chanting going on. Kind of, it would be less like actual like mystic and more like spoken ritual type stuff.
Right. I feel like I would want to get in on that. I haven't really seen my people in a long time.
So let's see. Why don't you just kind of why don't you roll either a persuade or a common knowledge? Common knowledge more to kind of like get the hang of what's going on, and a persuade more to like convince them to like show you.
Right. Yeah. I'm just copying them. I'll do common knowledge.
And dear Lord, did you figure it out?
I didn't mean to have that +1, but a 9, so fine.
Yeah, you definitely like you get the hang of it real quick. They're really just kind of like telling a story. They're telling the story of this shaman and the shaman before her, and kind of just they're more or less building her up kind of as the focal point of their ritual, so that when the time comes, she can like, poke the cloud. But you definitely add to it. You definitely add to it, and don't take away from it. So you want to, Adam? You want to give some PPE?
Here's 40 PPE. Now I'm gonna go take a nap.
40 PPE. Okay, so you've got 40. Midnight. We'll assume that you're able to, with kind of like some of your like kind of dancing around has attracted some of the techs and explorers, and they are willing to provide some of their magic and fellowship to the ritual, and they're going to kind of try to copy you a little bit, kind of dancing around and singing, and some of the younger Linsrial actually like help them, like correct them, and like, oh, do this instead.
Oh, thank you.
And they definitely seem very impressed with your ability to just kind of pick up he will know their ways as if he was born to. He is the Kwisatz Haderach. So the spell is getting to its crescendo. There's enough people. There are enough people to see. I'm just going to do this on a sheet. There are enough people to double. So there is definitely the double of the casting cost. Where is Miracles?
This is back, like 5 hours from when I did it. So I've taken my nap.
Okay. And you guys are kind of all sort of like, awakened or fetched and everything, and everyone's getting prepared. About an hour before the portal is ready to open, they get you, like, everybody get in your, vehicles and get ready to travel, pack everything up, get in single file.
Mhm.
The Lince Real send a couple of their own technicians because they're not traditionalists like the Native Americans. They just happen to be really good at magic. So they send some of their technicians through to make sure that everything's, unloaded even before you guys get ready to go. And the portal opens. And
All right, Rogers. Here we go.
And are you going to lead the way?
Yeah, I've been for the first one to die if something goes horribly wrong.
So how would you like them to sort of travel through? Because, like, basically, like, the ogre and the behemoth have been loaded up with all of the power armors and the rope and, like, the Jaegers. And then there's several, like, hover vehicles that are, laden with things. And there's the mobile gun.
Well, I think for the most part, a couple of my group right behind me, and then some of the faster moving stuff should be the next things through, and then the rest I don't really care. So if something horrible goes bad, I want some of the fighters on my team, probably at least midnight, and then some train hoppers or things that are quick to move around if we run into trouble right away.
They can't use any. The terrain hoppers, the Predator, and the Jaegers are all, like, packed away.
Okay, they're all completely back away?
They considered them weapons, essentially. So, like, there's basically, like, some hover vehicles and then the 3 big robots. As well as they're dragging the remains of the 2, like, missile bots, but they haven't been able to get any of that shit running by any means.
Something with some movement and some firepower that's allowed to be on right now.
Okay, so the mobile gun will follow you through.
Yeah, and the rest it doesn't really matter.
He's got a big sword, like a big vibro sword too. So if something nasty is there,
sounds good. Good enough for me.
They're gonna set also several of the pilots agreed to be on, like, some unarmed hover bikes to do some recon for you guys. They'll go through with you as well in case They can't have guns and stuff, but they can at least be on something fast.
Mm-hmm.
So you step.
We have the mech that's. God dang it! Nathan is come through too, because
You could ride in it. You could totally ride in it if you wanted to. Yeah. It would have spots for 4 more people in it.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, totally. So yeah, Sir Barry's Fish rides through.
Midnight
and as he rides through, why don't you draw a card? No,
just in case.
Just in case, we'll see what kind of things.
Not club. No. Oh, goody! Another Joker.
So let me see.
Did we ever reshuffle that? I think there we go, Nathan. Yeah. Henderson. Oh dear.
Okay, draw twice more. Draw 2 more cards. So 10 of clubs and 8 of diamonds. Neither of them were face cards. So you come through and it's drizzling rain and snow. It is drizzling rain and snow. But looking around, you basically see that you have appeared on, like, kind of from like a fog bank almost that's kind of low on the ground. But you don't see anything immediately threatening. It's just dreary,
It's January.
Midwestern plains. Several of the hover bikes kind of, come through and do some sort of searching around, and the mobile gun kind of pops through and,
yay for the
kind of. What's that? Yeah, make for the foothills. And yeah, everything seems okay. Why don't you make a notice roll, just to kind of get a grasp?
Let's re-roll that.
Yeah, you don't. Do you want,
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't see anything myself. Hopefully somebody else does. If there's something we need to notice, but it's too foggy for me.
okay.
Oh, 15 actually.
Yeah. Yes. Spike notices that there's some kind of like some sort of like ley line activity off to the east, a ways, kind of up in the clouds, but nothing in the immediate area. And actually, this seems pretty barren around here. It doesn't seem like there's a lot going on.
That's good.
So you think that it should be probably safe to continue through?
Not a lot of ley lines out in this part of the world, so.
Yeah. So once you get through, you know, once basically everyone is through, the cloud bank behind you kind of like just turns into sort of just a normal thick cloud of fog and dissipates pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
We'll make sure everybody gets through, and I'm sure we had a plan to like count and make sure everybody's here before we move on.
Yep. So you can do a head count, and it seems like everyone's there.
At least everyone's heads.
Right,
yeah, at least everyone's head.
And this was pretty. We came through pretty late at night after this long ritual, correct?
Well, this was the next day, so it would have been. So it would have been. Why don't you roll a d4 and add that to noon?
4 o'clock.
What's that?
4 in the afternoon, then.
So yeah, so it's 4 o'clock. Okay, yep. So 4 o'clock. It is January, I think 18th or 19th. So probably getting close to sundown.
I know the weather is crap, but we need to get the
weather is real crap.
Set up. So if anybody's got environmental protection spell to help these guys out, have to be working out in the cold here. Otherwise, everybody else should be staying warm and stuff.
Yep.
Get inside the Porcupine Commanders, whatever, if you don't need to be on guard right now.
Yep, and they have they put a couple, like, while you guys are doing all of this, the technicians pop up some of their sort of like, you know, habitation modules.
Yeah.
So that people can like just, you know, get ready and get warm, stay warm. They work in shifts pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like was expected, it only takes just a few minutes for the energy weapons to get up and running for the most part. And then it takes maybe why doesn't somebody roll a D3?
Okay. Oh, wow.
All right. Yeah, very close. It only takes 1 hour to actually get the missiles and the railguns and all of the other projectile weapons up and running. However, they did not. They ended up leaving the kinetic bombardment, the shells that they had. They didn't have many left, and rather than try to, you know, take them out and reload them, they just left them with the Lince Real.
Yeah.
So their little artillery pieces are not. They don't load those up.
Okay.
well done.
But everything else is up and running in about an hour. So you're at 5 o'clock.
If this is a decent spot, or if maybe our scouts have a better place to set up the night camp, I don't think we should do any traveling today with this shitty weather. Just if this place is good enough, we'll go here. If there's maybe somewhere that can break the wind a little better, we'll go there. But let's not hope the weather's better in the next day or two, and then we'll move out.
I mean, we have like electronic sensors that basically not that bad.
J20. So it also takes It also takes about an hour for them to get all of the other robots, like, out of storage and unpacked and stuff.
It's already basically dark by the time that's done.
Yes. So Gren will set up a watch, an armored watch, and he would request that you do the same with your. Basically, he's like, I'll get my people on watch, you get your people on watch.
Nope. I mean, we still saved like 2 days from doing.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and you don't have to travel.
We didn't have any
through
mountains falling, robots falling down the mountain.
Right.
Yeah. Or the various super monsters in that area.
All right, so nothing happens this evening. It's actually very quiet. The next day, it's still kind of dreary. It started to snow a little bit. Not quite as wet as it was the day before, but definitely a lot of snow.
The wintry mix
has accumulated. So really, anyone without environmental armor is going to need to probably be wearing some winter clothing. And if you're doing a lot of traveling out in the open, you may still have some issues if you're not wearing some sort of like fully sealed clothes.
Luckily, I have EVA, so that's all right.
So, how would you like to set this up? You're traveling with basically an armored support group. It's not a small group of people, and it will take a little bit to coordinate. How would you like to travel?
Well, the faster moving stuff near the outside, slow moving big guns in the center, and have make sure we kind of break up the command so that maybe we have a couple different sections that are kind of working together to keep an eye on things from different directions.
Okay.
Whether that's 2, probably at least 3, so we at least have a triangle of directions people are kind of coordinating and working together, and they can kind of. So,
I mean, Gren suggests putting Midnight in charge of the flyers.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Even if they can fly faster than him, he can grab on, if they have to go fast. But he thinks everyone would feel safer with Midnight out there. He seems very
experienced. The leader should kind of be in command of the stuff that's going to be in the middle, the big. So name's in charge of that.
Okay, so we'll just say Boss James.
Boss James can.
He's not really. He'll keep Lieutenant Gren with him as far for battle. If something really goes bad.
And it's not in Mary or Spike's personality to be leading another group, so they're going to be. Spike's going to be with me for sure, and Mary, you want to keep riding and running the big giant robots? Does that seem good? And then we'll need somebody to kind of keep an eye on our backs. Maybe one of the robots near the back, Mary can ride with them, and just probably one of them will be that know their tactics better and can kind of be in charge of that, and Mary can just help them out however she can.
Sure. If Mary wants to ride in the mobile gun, it'll have two pilots. 2 of the deserter pilots will be in the mobile gun, one running the machine and the other running the guns. And then there will be another, a technician in there, kind of just running the engineering stuff. So there's at least 2 free seats in there. She can totally ride there. Yeah.
Okay.
She should be able to.
You're back.
The technician actually takes the time to kind of show you how to use the sensors and stuff. so that you can like look out and stuff. It's a dude, and it seems like he probably had a child at one point in time and doesn't have that child anymore. So he's just being very helpful and kind of like, you know. But traveling along, let's see. Any other plans? So Midnight's with the Flyers doing some recon. Sir Barry's Fish is you're out on your horse, kind of doing some outriding.
Yep, and I may ride between the groups if something comes up. I mean, the main communications, so you know, they come through me if something is important enough from one of our 3 points. Can then come to me through the radio or whatever. But I'll probably be kind of bouncing between different sections and seeing it for myself as we travel. Trusting them that everybody will do what they need to do to keep us all safe.
Let me.
I kind of want to lounge on the outside of one of the robots.
As long as you don't freeze
yeah, I mean, it really did. Like the behemoth is basically like a housing complex with legs. So like it's got several like balconies and observation decks. The ogre is less likely to have that, but it probably has at least like, you know, one spot where you could maybe sit on it.
Spike, you do have some environmental body armor or some other way to protect yourself from the cold?
I have leyline walker armor.
Yeah.
Does that not have environment?
Typically not, I don't think.
I think you might have to activate it to do so, if it does.
You have the medium light or the heavy one?
It's the light, because he's tiny.
Because the description will have EVA written in it if it does.
No.
Typically, there's a face covering that can filter out like toxins and stuff like that, but probably not for like temperature.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't say EVA. Yeah.
All right.
The light one is +2 versus all hazards, so cold would be a hazard, but it's not.
I have the medium actually, but
so you have at least some bonus, but you're not immune to it. So you want to be out there too long in the cold.
Okay. Then I'll probably chill out there till it gets too cold, and then go inside.
Okay, and as long as you're not like specifically staying out doing stuff, I'm probably not going to really have you roll against environmental threats unless it's relevant. So why doesn't someone draw, like, whoever wants to draw the direction? Why don't you draw like a 200-mile long line in kind of towards the direction you think you should go?
You may want to reshuffle the deck since both jokers have come out as well.
Oh, you're right.
200.
Thumbs up. Good call.
Well,
I didn't do that. That's fine. That's like, yeah, kind of whichever you want to go to Curtis.
What was that, Curtis? I can't remember what was.
Curtis was the trading post near the haunted ranch.
Yeah, because
that's actually they liked you guys a lot.
Yeah, I want to stay away from Fort Prospect. That's supposedly where the headquarters of the first apocalyptic cavalry are, and
yeah,
they're the worst kind of do-gooders because they don't. I've heard bad things. They're supposedly fighting bad things, but they tend to like raise DB villagers to the ground. Supposedly, I've heard stories of that. So,
all right. So if you're heading to Curtis, I will have. Let's see. Let's start on. Let's go from the smallest to the largest. So Spike or Mary, which one of you is smaller? I think Spike has the small hindrance. Do you have the small hindrance, Mary?
No, I do not. So
okay, Spike.
I guess that'll be him.
Draw a card, Spike.
Okay.
For your travel.
King of Diamonds.
Ooh, okay. Okay, I need to roll in the game. Why don't you roll a d6?
Okay.
That's the travel.
Exploding or not?
Right?
No, just standard d6.
3.
Sorry, yeah, just plain.
Three.
Roll on a table. Random encounter table.
What's that? Yeah. What number was it?
3.
3.
3. Ooh,
Ah.
okay. While you guys are traveling, both Mary and Spike, with their supernatural senses, sense very close to Lake McConaughey. They sense just this overwhelming magical presence, just emanating from kind of a mound near the lake.
Well, fuck, that's where we're traveling. That's pretty much in the exact direction of where we're traveling.
Yeah.
And upon further investigation, you find a very ornate sword of unknown provenance.
Wow, do not touch that with your bare hand.
Buried fish hands.
Not either.
We found fucking Excalibur.
Is it like sticking out of a mound, or is it just? Is it like a?
It is just sticking out of the top of the mound. Yeah, like.
All the senses.
Okay, if you want to do that, you want to use Presence and Exalted.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that? So while you're looking at it.
And then take a look at it and maybe use your code and see if you can tell what it might be.
Those are 2 and 2.
That doesn't work.
Oh, casting. Do I get the +2 because of the thing?
Yes, you will. You will get the +2 because you got the one with magic, and you're. Yep.
Okay. I'll take that one.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Tell me all your secrets.
enchantments, present, PPE. Okay. It is very clearly a rune blade.
A rune blade?
What is
A
that?
weapon. Why don't you make an occult roll?
Good, I think
That will not have any that won't have any bonuses. But since you got that good on your detect, you should be able to. If you have knowledge, you should be able to scramble a little bit from that.
that's a cool.
Occult, yes.
All right.
Jeez.
Nice.
Okay, yeah. This is actually kind of very close to you because it is a blade that is essentially an indestructible prison for a soul. And those souls can be any variety of souls, but the blade itself is kind of special. And if it's not, if the person trying to wield it is not in tune with the spirit that inhabits it, they could potentially be harmed, if not killed, depending upon the power of the spirit. So, it does not appear malevolent, though. It does not appear malevolent to your
That
senses.
doesn't matter though. It's a prison for a soul. I want to.
You would know that that's going to be essentially impossible.
Well,
With the rays, there would be ways to destroy. There are ways to destroy them, but like it's such powerful magic that you might just destroy the soul as well. It's kind of dark shit. It's either dark shit or or they are weapons made by like absurdly benevolent.
necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Like a benevolent god who binds the soul of an angel to a blade so that one of the worthy can wield it, like. But yeah, I mean, it's not something you could destroy.
Somebody put it here for
So
a
what would you
reason.
like? What's that?
Somebody put this here for a reason.
Well, considering we suddenly found a burst of magic that just happened once while we were passing.
Oh no, it wasn't a burst. It was like this is the source of the magic. It's like
It's constant.
Oh, okay.
it's almost like it's calling out, basically. but it's the methodology of containment prevents you from speaking with it. Like someone would have to grab it and kind of,
All right.
Are you going to grab it?
Yeah.
Okay.
His curiosity because it's a soul trapped in there. He can't resist.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I have to.
Why don't you make a spirit roll at a -2?
-2. Spirit roll. I'm gonna re-roll that. There we go.
Okay. You feel an overwhelming power sort of surge up from the sword, up your arm, to your shoulder, up into your head. And then you kind of focus, you focus your mind, and like the presence kind of goes straight back. And you can just sort of feel like the presence of it's almost like the presence of a headsman, like someone whose job it is to kill, but who really gets no joy from it and basically serves simply as, he the headsman who sees himself as the axe and not a person. But it doesn't really seem like despaired or anything. It's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just very matter of fact. And you would guess that it is a bit more morally gray than you are, and as such, it would potentially not have. You would not be attuned very well to it. This is a fairly neutral spirit. Like you like, even though you're a necromancer, you have very strong convictions as far as like spirits and whatnot. This soul is basically an aimless, purposeless soul that has one purpose.
This thing is true neutral. I'm probably lawful neutral, if we put into that vernacular.
Potentially, yeah. But you would guess that, yeah, if you're trying to use this as an actual weapon, it would be very difficult. It would struggle against you, to the extent that it would basically be an improvised weapon, melee-wise in your hand. You don't know who it would be, but if you want to try to free the soul, you could potentially take it with you and attempt to free the soul.
This thing is literally an affront to my character's way of thinking. So I think I have to. One thing,
a couple things you do notice is that like it is like the equivalent of like a longsword, like a robust cruciform longsword, but it's feather light. Like it's absurdly light. And you would know from your kind of like the knowledge you scrubbed from your brain that it's indestructible and has, a razor sharp edge. It is magically sharper than steel.
That's what happens when you use souls as.
But other than that, you make good time.
Are you taking the sword?
And
or are
you
putting
actually
it back?
I have to, because I want to destroy it. I know it's a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
But like Mary would want to destroy this thing or get the soul out of there. She doesn't care if they're evil or good. They belong elsewhere.
It weighs 1 pound and has like for the purpose, if you ever wanted to use it as a weapon, it's improvised, so you'll take a -2 to the attack. But other than that, it's basically like a strength plus D8 longsword that only requires a D4 to wield. It's uber light. But again, you're at a -4 to hit with it, so, or not -4, -2. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because it fights you. But you do make it to Curtis. You make it to the Curtis trading post and tavern. And you can see that business has picked up since the last time you were here.
Oh, that's good.
The vehicles that you see are not vehicles that have been abandoned. Actually, they're the vehicles of patrons, some of whom are actually sitting out kind of on a newly constructed front porch. Appears to be built out of like a shipping container that's been carved out. Sitting out there drinking, and they, they do kind of like, I mean, through whoever's, anyone, let's see, Mary is in the mobile gun. No one else is really in in something that would have advanced sensors, but maybe when midnight flies over, he can see that like they kind of do sort of like kind of get a little bit of a sort of like a startled and kind of panicked, activity once they sort of hear and see the armored column arriving.
I would probably run.
But when it's clear that like they're not going to be bombed out of existence, they just go back to like, sitting on the porch and drinking.
Yeah, and I may have ridden up a bit of a head to just like to let them know that we're coming and hey.
Cool, yeah, and they would be like, oh yeah, they got a picture of you inside. They got a picture of you and some big cat guy and a little girl and a guy with like big Lince Real, one of those Sky Knight fellas. Like it's pretty. I never thought we'd meet you. Like you're famous.
They're all here. Well, our cat friend is no longer with us, unfortunately. Tragic story there.
Well, we'll have a drink. We'll buy you guys around in his honor. We'll have to have you tell this story. But are they all with you?
Oh yeah, they're all with us. These fine folks. We're a little lost of purpose, and they're gonna be coming back with us to where we are and be a part of our noble goals of helping folks out like you.
Well, all right. I guess good business for the bar, I suppose. We're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to accommodate all of you with rooms, I'm afraid. But
we got that taken.
But there's plenty of food and there's even more booze. So
sounds good, sir.
I have the strangest feeling everyone is fine with that.
Yeah.
I doubt they have had any for a long.
The first round is on the Tomorrow Legion. I would.
They would actually, and like when you kind of, if you like, we'll kind of do a little bit of kind of what's it called, montages. But as you get in, like there's the montage with the music, and Sir Barry's Fish is going up to the bar and pounding on the bar, like you can't hear what he's saying, but he's obviously saying, like one, the first round's on the Tomorrow Legion, and then the bartender's like got the like, oh no, like you don't pay in here. Like the first round and every round tonight is on the house, like. Wow. And then there's some partying and some cheering and like.
Did he change his mind after he realized how many more of them weren't even in the bar yet because we have a giant.
Actually, well, so it's one of those things that people like are sort of like. Again, in the montage, there's sort of like the people sitting in the back of the room, like the local regulars, who at first they see like, the first group of people and they're like, that's pretty good. And then they see like the second group of people, which is like all of like the pilots.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, and then they see the final group of people, which is like everyone else, like, 30 technicians, and like they're fine, and, in the cutaway, from the montage, the bartender lady, I can't remember her name, but the lady who ran it would say that like, once you guys cleared out that ranch, like everything came back. Like there's actually some trade routes here. And there's, they've got some hired guns who, spend their time kind of just riding range to like kind of keep track of trouble. But like, they've made more money just since you guys came back here than they had in the entire time that they'd been in an establishment, and it didn't hurt that you guys only took like, one ATV and 3 robot horses with you. Like she said she was able to parlay that into like, all sorts of good stuff. So, she thanks you and says like, we'll this is not necessarily something we could do all the time, but this is, and you guys would
Including
see
the
like
good
your
stuff.
picture, your picture, before you guys had left, she had obviously taken a picture and, then got like, a digital copy or something like that to project on the wall.
Well, we'll have to have us a drink for King Santa.
Say what?
Well, I'll have to have a dedicated drink to King Santa.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everyone would, set down their drinks. And you know what? This is a good time for everyone to take a conviction. I don't remember how to do it, but everyone should get at least one conviction now that you're kind of like out of the blender.
You have to go into the card decks and show it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm AFK right now. I will do that in a minute. But but everyone takes their drink and they ask you guys to tell them the story of the haunted ranch. Because
I haven't heard it either, so I'm interested.
Great. Spike doesn't know anything about this.
For that matter, neither does Midnight. What you were?
No, Midnight showed up right before this. Yeah, Midnight was on.
Yeah, High Noon died right before that.
Or High Noon. High Midnight died right before High Noon. Yeah, he is High Noon.
Okay, he is. Yeah, whichever one it is. Yeah, Midnight died.
He's High Night. He's High Night, the Sky Knight.
The one from the parallel universe is the was there for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it was like our.
Yeah, Midnight, the original Midnight, did not live through too many sessions.
Yeah, he got killed by Revenant Jones.
Yeah,
that's right.
Revenant Jones.
The
thinking
Pecos Bandit leader. He was.
All right, so after your storytelling in the evening, everything, everything kind of quiets down. The technicians obviously set up some of their habitation modules. They also Boss James actually does some talking with some of the locals and gets some supply in exchange for some work. Basically has some of his technicians fix the plumbing and stuff in exchange for some supplies.
Good stuff.
Go ahead.
It's a good old barter economy, basically.
It is, yes. And I mean, Boss James seems to know his way around this kind of situation. Obviously, there's some guards that are sent out, but the lady who runs the bar basically mentions they've got some hired guns that are kind of keeping watch anyway. So if the coalition or the cavalry or something else shows up, they should have some warning, And the evening passes largely uneventful. There are a few fights that end good-naturedly with both of the people rolling around on the ground, drunk and laughing. And let me make sure. Next day, Mary took it. B plus 85. The morning of January 21st, you wake up in Curtis, well rested. The technicians actually, Boss James actually mentions that they had been able to do a little bit more maintenance than they had expected, so they could maybe go 10 or 12 hours over the next day if they have to, if you want to push it.
Well, we had a nice, relaxing, fun night, so as long as other people aren't too hungover and can do it, I want to kind of get a feel for the group. If we got a bunch of hungover people, we might not push it today. But if they think if their spirits are good enough to get through it, then we'll push on. And Boss Frankie, actually, the radio chick, would mention that there's a few people with some headaches, but for the most part, none of the pilots are hungover. That's important.
Henderson actually just took a full shift on guard in one of the terrain hoppers. Didn't do a lot of drinking. So most of them should be just fine. And the technicians who have headaches can, their jobs can be done by other people who don't have headaches. It's not like essential. So the people who have headaches, it might be rough traveling for them, but they should have thought of that before they drank something.
Yeah. Just didn't want them to be a liability of some sort. Anybody important?
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
All right, let's go. Push on.
Okay. So why don't let's see. Next smallest is Mary Arkham. So Mary Arkham, why don't you draw a card, and we'll see how far you can travel. Do you want to go 10 or 12 hours?
10's enough.
I don't know.
Let's plan on 10, and then we'll see where we're at 10. If we want to go a few.
Right. If the weather cooperates, maybe we can push on.
Okay.
Just click to draw.
Yes.
Ooh.
Another face card.
Queen of Hearts. Okay, so we've got Sway Heart Strangers. Okay, yeah. So we are going to travel. Let's see.
Let me draw. Because we're gonna avoid Port Prospect Lift, so we probably go 100 this way.
Go to three. Draw a 350 mile line. Do 350 miles.
Okay, 350. Well, we'll go about 100 this way, and then we'll go 250. So
just get to the border.
We'll get close to the border then.
Okay, so we will. I will put you there. You're not the encounter you're going to have is a friendly encounter and space card. You're going to meet some merchants, some traveling merchants. They actually are some of the people who generally supply Curtis. So Boss James would actually know who they are, at least by name. But how would you like to?
Well, I don't particularly need anything, so I mean, and if anybody is in the group particularly needs anything,
I thought I lost everyone.
Am I being heard?
Is anybody what?
Well, let's just make sure. We'll all disconnect and reconnect. Make sure everybody's back. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I don't have anything particular I need from the merchants. Once I find out that they kind of know who they are and they don't seem to be any kind of threat or anything, and they're not like selling cybernetics that they've ripped out of other people, then anybody needs anything, feel free to shop, or of course ask if they see anything dangerous in the area.
Isn't that just part of the standard greeting?
Yeah. Just a reminder, yeah.
So they do mention that, there's some coalition patrols out here. They haven't seen anything anywhere near as big as your. We haven't seen anything anywhere near as big as your group. But you'll see some of them dog boys and some dead boys wandering around in a group, scurrying around, scared of everything that's jumping. Other than that, you always hear about those night walkers, those crazy fucking vampires. They'll all of a sudden, a small farm everyone will disappear, and then you got the bloodsuckers. But no, we haven't seen nothing too dangerous.
The coalition has no idea what to do.
They have bandito arms stuff for sale, for the most part.
Boy, if I had a different character, I'd be like, give me one of that big boars.
Yeah, no shit.
Give me one of them big
great.
boars. But that's
pretty badass.
That's not my style for this character.
If I remember correctly, they're the ones that shoot mini rockets.
They kind of. They're the ones that can knock people down. In the original Palladium, you actually had to be augmented strength. Otherwise, it would knock you down just shooting it.
Yeah, the kickback is ridiculous.
Unless you had supernatural strength, which is technically possible.
Okay, so let's see. You probably would have left at 6 or 7 in the morning. When do you think you would have left?
Yeah, probably at first light.
Yeah,
Mhm.
First
they-
light. That would have been about 8 or 9 because it is January.
Yeah, it'd been time to
We do not want
get
to
some
be
food in your
in
belly if anybody who actually
coalition.
wants to break their fast at that time.
So which time you would have left?
Probably 8 then, 8 or 9.
Probably 8. 8. Okay. So it is 8. It is 6 p.m. by the time you get to the border, to the river. It's starting to get dark, and you're going to have to cross the river at some point. Or no, there's no river there. Sorry, there's no river there.
Wait,
That's
no.
just the border.
Wrong.
You're getting to the border.
I mean,
Sorry,
there's
yeah.
probably some
So do you
small
want to
rivers in there, but nothing huge.
do you want to travel another 2 hours to get into
Yeah.
territory, or do you want to just sort of wait?
I assume we met the
while it's getting dark?
merchants before we got to that point, right? Somewhere along.
Oh
the
yeah,
way.
it was basically when you kind of made the turn. It was
Yeah.
around where you made.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say
Depends on how
get
everybody's
out of
feeling. If
coalition territory.
we may have to make some exhaustion rolls, but potentially. But
Yeah, me and most of us are not big fans of the coalition. So yeah, let's.
yeah, we can put
Yeah.
another
Okay,
couple
so why
hours
don't you
south.
draw a 60-mile line? Okay, is that roughly where you want to go?
Yep.
Good enough, roughly. So why don't you draw one more card? Let's see who's small. Okay,
It'd be
who's
me.
bigger, Buried Fish or Midnight?
Midnight. I think the Lintriel are taller by default. I think.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Buried
We're
Fish.
pretty big.
Draw one card here.
Not a
4
coalition.
of Spades.
Pretty
What
low.
even is spades?
Spades are enemies.
Oh,
But face cards usually are the
But
actual
it's not a
encounters.
face. It's not a face. Oh, yeah, it's not an actual encounter. You guys do like kind of as you're kind of getting out of the CS frontier, you do off in the distance. You see some flying Samuses way off in the distance that kind of fly your direction, and then kind of just think twice about it and fly the other direction. And then two of them against what you've got is pretty. So by the time you're out of that territory, it's 8 o'clock. It's sleepy time.
We made sure that they couldn't come back with reinforcements. We weren't anywhere to be found. So
Yeah.
So, we're gonna keep an
and
extra careful watch tonight, though, in case they try some shit. But
And I'm gonna roll. Why doesn't and then so yeah. Okay, that's cool. So this last one, Brett, why don't you make a dice? Why don't you roll a d4?
Okie dokie.
Okay. You guys definitely, once you kind of get this close, you are able to get some Legion personnel up on radio relay.
Sure.
You can't get really good connection to Castle Refuge, but there's some local people in the area. And they are going to kind of like see if they can get some messages back to Castle Refuge to maybe get some support crew to meet you halfway on the following morning.
okay,
So, Brett, why don't you draw a card for our kind of final night of travel, or the final sort of night and following day?
all right.
And yeah, and you guys basically have a fairly reasonable evening. All of the repairs go well. The maintenance, and yeah, you actually meet the Tomorrow Legion support about halfway, and they basically, you guys get back to Castle Refuge. They have you guys, the 4 of you are able to totally like go into Castle Refuge. Everyone else is kind of like in quarantine, sort of quarantine type thing. They're the robots are being checked over. Everyone's kind of going through some interrogation and
I just asked when
and whatnot.
I just asked when they're ready. How long before they think they'll want me to come for debriefing?
Yep.
Because I'm ready to help make sure these guys get settled in safely and get vetted and whatever needs to happen. If they need anything from me to help out with that, I want to be there for it.
Yep. And they thank you. They're actually pretty, obviously Sergeant O'Flynn is impressed. He's pretty clearly not surprised, but he is impressed that you were able to get such a group to come with you. And he makes some comment about how never underestimate a cyber knight. Like they'll get
You'll be disappointed every time if you do, right?
They'll get an army of mice to face an army of of dragons and
win.
Come out on top.
Oh yeah.
He says we're gonna kind of do a little bit of working. We'll see about getting everyone paid. Preliminary observations and analysis of the people that you brought in. Aside from the three that you had pointed out being a bit combative, the rest of them seem to be excellent additions to our legion.
I've treated our three prisoners very well, and I want to make sure that continues. We'll find something. We'll find something to do with them. They won't be wanting for food or free time. We'll figure out something. And the people that you brought back who are looking for new identities, we'll be able to provide them with at least something basic. With all the people who have died leading up to and following the fall of Tolkien, there's plenty of legitimate identities out there to be had. So you can always make a new one.
And
I'm not from this world.
Yep. And I was also informed. This would be like he would mention some of this while it was just like those of you in the special unit, like. But he'd say, I was also informed that some of those technicians are former coalition scientists. Their expertise will be of great use to our Northern Gun allies. They've been really hoping to get some of that coalition tech and reverse engineer it. So we'll see what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Other than that. See here. You made it.
We're back. We have to get our conviction
We're
still, but
So, sorry.
We didn't lose anybody.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
Yes. So it's going to be probably like I want to update my passage of time. Be 86. 22. Huge. B plus.
Oh, math.
Okay. So what's that?
Oh, math.
Yeah, so it's 3 days later. On the 25th of January, you guys are called into kind of the office, and Sergeant O'Flynn mentions that everything has been everybody has been observed and checked out, and honestly couldn't have done a better job. We never generally have a shortage of material, so getting some experienced pilots is really good. Sergeant O'Flynn, Lieutenant Gren and his deserters are all going to be basically formed up into like a recon wing to travel, and Porcupine Command and its technicians are just going to be folded entirely into the Tomorrow Legion, technicians group. And Nathan Henderson is going to join the special units at some point in time.
Yeah, they need some help down in the motor pool fixing all those vehicles up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Especially
So
after we get done with them.
what's that?
Especially after we get done with them.
Yeah.
Hey, we haven't done that bad with our vehicles.
No, you guys have been pretty good with vehicles. Well, I mean, except for the one that doesn't have an engine.
Yeah, the one that.
Well, I mean, I guess it had a cake engine.
Yeah, it had a cake engine, which silly fairy.
And so yeah, you guys are all given. You guys are given your your spiels on. Oh, you did this right, this wrong. You all get, a customary dressing down for, not doing things by the book, and you obviously all don't really care.
That's why we're a special exploratory team. We don't quite follow the same rules as everybody else.
Yes, indeed. They talk to Sir Barry's Fish about potentially taking a bit like a leadership promotion to like an actual lieutenant instead of an ensign. Potentially would need some remedial instruction just to kind of like get into the swing of things, but
Sure.
definitely demonstrated that you could lead a larger group. Midnight is also offered a promotion from junior sergeant to staff sergeant. Definitely a good non-commissioned officer. They really have no complaints about you, other than obviously, I'm sure Barry's Fish would probably annotate that, like, obviously he's he thinks that he can do more than he can do, but oftentimes he surprises even himself.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Spike is really just generally asked what you want to do. They're still kind of trying to get a figure on what you want to do for the Tomorrow Legion.
I just
like if you're not,
and I don't want nobody stealing my juices.
So they're going to make you, they're going to make you a warrant officer. They're going to make you a junior warrant officer. You're technically going to be subordinate to Mary, but you won't be in the executive. You won't have to deal with like quartermastery, like Fletcher would.
Does.
Yeah. But Mary doesn't get a promotion because she's 12.
Yeah.
And she's reached the limit of her promotion until there's a reason to give her more responsibility. And right now she's not really, you guys are still at sort of like the smaller squad level.
Right now,
and she's got, she's got like 20 more years to actually do stuff than everyone else who's in the Tomorrow League.
Right. So. Plenty of time to grow.
Assuming she just doesn't become immortal and stuck at age 12. Well, now I'm stuck at age 13.
And other than that, you guys, let's see, I got some wages here. Got your wages of sin. Let's see, where is it? Pay for tech retrieval. Where did I? Ongoing pay? Is it ongoing pay?
Tech personnel.
Yes, okay, so your expert tech recruitment, everyone gets 150,000 credits.
150, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Credit. That is like more than I had, I think.
It's a lot, but you guys did basically, what is it called? Where is it? It is, for full-scale war operations, take the armed strike pay and make it monthly. Because there's not really like a wage type, thing for the special groups.
2,500. Wow. That sounds like a lot. Not.
Depends on what you're buying.
I mean, that's not even going to get you. If you're trying to
buy a giant robot, that's the drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
You need a couple million.
Could get you a few motor vehicles.
But boy, maybe I'll have to go bet on some of the robot gladiator battles.
Bet on the. Oh my God! Yes, gambling.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have the gambling.
Gambling.
I will not know who to
At
bet
least-
on.
Yeah, and there's no way to save scum.
So.
Okay, so I need to
'Cause
do
even
the...
Barry's fish, who's like, kind of a pacifist, has this little bit in him. He does like to watch the recordings of the gladiator battles from Northern Guns. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I don't like the juicer sports though. That gets a little too bloody.
They're brutal.
They're brutal.
They're
I mean,
brutal.
they let them use chainsaws on the field. So.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going base pay for tech retrieval. Passage of time, so paid for services and promotes.
Let's see. Do I have
Okay.
a spot on here to mark? Wow, that's out of date on my party bag.
It is the 20. Yes. So the day you guys that
So
kind
what
of
is
all
my
happens
action rank now?
25th.
Is it C whatever it is. That stuff's in the Game Master's Handbook, right?
What's that?
The Legion rank stuff's in the GM guide.
Oh, sure. It's okay, let me find the page. Yeah, it's in it's page 85. And then on the page before it is like sort of like mercenary pay. So for like basically for missions, I'm giving the party mercenary pay because they're doing sort of,
Some of these is bigger. That particular
Yeah.
one was so dangerous and long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you guys were basically spending the whole time in the wasteland.
Wait, am I looking in the wrong
But
book?
yeah, I think a mid-level strike is 500k, and then I think you all got a special success and hazardous. So 500k divided by 4 is 125 plus
I thought
25.
You said 85.
I think that's.
It's 83 in mine anyway. All right.
Oh, it is. Okay, I might not have the updated one.
Possible. Or if you have the updated one, I have the physical. I'm looking at the physical book, and they may have stuck a page in here on the PDF.
That's possible. That is very possible.
Okay. So I'm at O2 now.
Yes, the lieutenant. Yes. Now this is probably like following some sort of provisionary training.
Right.
Which, if you're going to be GM for a little while, that we could just hand wave that.
Yeah,
as, Sir Barry
I'll be taking
doing
over
that.
for that, and so he'll be off doing this training, so he actually officially becomes O2.
Yep, and yep, staff sergeant. Yep, Midnight is now a staff sergeant in E5, and Spike is a W1, a junior warrant officer.
Yeah.
And Mary is still a senior warrant officer. And when Fletcher returns, he'll also be just still a junior warrant officer. But he's a bitch warrant officer. He's everyone's bitch, basically.
Right.
Like that. He's technically not the lowest on the totem pole, but his job description puts him there. Like,
Fantastic.
I'll say for hand waving for him that he went on like a diplomatic mission to Mars Hall or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
To he did something that a magic thing would do. Like he put him out in the wild.
Well, did you have anything else for us today, Jordan? Or are we about ready to wrap this up?
I figure, yeah. I mean, Brett said he's got to head here pretty soon, so I figured that was a pretty good way to go. Stops, pretty good place to wind up.
Sounds good.
What kind of are you gonna? Do you want to start next session, or do you want me to run a little bit more?
I could start. I've got enough to get it started. I don't have the full. I mean, I've had loose idea where I want it to go. So.
Okay. Cool.
I'll just let you know we're gonna be heading into the New West. Get your cowboy.
I should warn you.
Get your
I have
cowboys
taken the
hats
major
ready to
item
go,
creation.
and we're gonna jump ahead a few months probably, so that we have some warmer
That's
weather.
cool. Okay, so yes, the
I got plenty
25th
of
of
time.
where do we want to jump a few months ahead then?
Yeah, I think we'll probably at
So-
least be near the end of March.
Because it's okay. That's basically the end of March. You said.
Yeah.
Passage of time from now to end of March.
So you can be thinking about fluff live what your characters would be doing in the meantime. We'll probably obviously we've been sent on some more local missions, just patrols and guarding and taking supplies and things like that. Minor monster threats, nothing major stuff we would have done at our novice rank, which is piddly stuff now for the next couple months, and then they'll have a big mission for us near the end of March. So
Okay. Got passage of time updated.
I should warn you that I now have the major item creation edge. So
yeah,
Yes.
maybe between
So
now
that's
next
some
week,
shit.
if there's anything you want to try to make, maybe we can do that off stream.
That's a good call, yeah.
So, then I'll leave it at that, and we'll start saying our goodbyes. Thanks everybody for watching today's episode, Road to Refuge. We've made it back safely. Join us in a week. I think we'll all be good in a week. I will keep the. I will be posting up the link to the live stream for next week. Once we get that date locked in for sure. This has been Riffs for Savage Worlds. Check them out at peginc.com for Pinnacle Entertainment Group for all kinds of great Savage Worlds material, the Savage Riffs, the Deadlands, the new Kickstarter ended a few weeks back, raised a ton of money. You can still lay pledge and get in on that for the new edition of Deadlands. Fantastic game. Also go check out the creators of Riffs over at Palladium Books at palladiumbooks.com. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.